one of these days I'm gonna actually like straight up repeat a topic and not know because thought I thought I talked about this, but I've gone into explicit detail before, but I don't think I've actually ranked the Assassin's Creed games. Now these are all technically the more mainline entries. There's the 2.5D like action adventure ones that I'm not including, but then again, Liberation is here, but that's kind of been added back into existence. But for the most part, that's everything up to what's currently out, which I'm not very excited for the next one, but a lot of that has to do with uh, just not really being into it. But I have played the rest of these, and oh my gosh, I also streamed most of this. Um, I streamed everything up to Valhalla, and I streamed the beginning of Valhalla before stuff. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Assassin's Creed One. I'm gonna go into it. I don't like these categories. We're probably gonna remove one of these, but Assassin's Creed One is just okay. If you don't know, this is kind of the replacement for Prince of Persia, the 3D like reboot that happened during the previous generation before Assassin's Creed. Um, and Assassin's Creed is very much like in line with what you would do in Prince of Persia. And Assassin's Creed 1 feels the most like that because it's just a straight up jump. I do like the early parts of the game, and I do like a few of the assassinations that end up happening. It's a little too drawn out. That's kind of the big problem with Assassin's Creed 1. The world is also a little too big for its britches. It wants to be this massive open world, but most of the areas that you end up kind of recycling through are the same three little sections. It gets too bottlenecky, and you don't actually get to fully explore the open world unless you're going for random stuff. It doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means it's inherently flawed. I do think the ending of the game is fine from a player perspective, but story is really boring. There's it feels like some characters have missing moments. I don't remember any character by name besides Altair, but there's one where you're kind of like you and this other assassin are beefing, and then you kind of like you have progression and he has progression to kind of meet in the middle, but every other character does not have that. So it's basically like there's three characters. There's the villain, which I'm not gonna spoil, I guess. There's Altair, which he's not really a character until halfway through, and then there's that random assassin that you actually just hang out with. Assassin's Creed 2. I'm gonna straight up ruin a lot of people's opinions of me. This game is just good. It improves on almost every facet of Assassin's Creed 1. I'm not gonna sit here and deny that. The amount of padding in this game is asinine. The whole entire last like 3 chapters or three like memory core whatever things you want to call them. Oh my god, it's just padding. This is also the start of the Assassin's Creed, like, oh, just throw 1,000 of every side thing in the world. It has a lot of cool, just general things in the game that I think are really special. I do think Ezio itself here is fine as a character. We'll get into why I don't really like him, and it's because the end of the game of Assassin's Creed 2 also sucks. I think it's probably the worst ending. I really hate it because this goes right into Brotherhood. Brotherhood is nope, never play again. This is one of the worst Assassin's Creed games, if not the worst. It's definitely up there. One, this feels like DLC, which is already a problem. Two, it's based on the idea, continuation of the story for Ezio, and there's some cool additions to the gameplay, but very, very minimal. That Ezio leaves one of the main villains of 2 alive just for him to go and do this. It's very stupid. It's very dumb, and I get there's a lot of people that could be like, well, he's trying to improve as a person. Yeah, he can improve as a person and not have me play another game where that person's a main villain. It would have been way cooler to have this be like one of those things where, the one of the main villains, like, okay, I let go away, and then, like, Brotherhood, Ezio's doing some grand thing, and then that guy comes back and he's like, let me help you this one time, and then he just fucks off because I don't want to see this game. The game is so bad. Where is Revelations? Am I missing it? Revelations, almost perfect. I think this game is what I want to see out of Ezio entirely. It has a lot of movement options that this is kind of the final game besides Liberation, which we'll get into. This is the final game where it has this type of movement scheme before we move into kind of what 3 and 4 do. They change a lot of the movement to be a little more less janky, but also linear, if that makes sense. It's really weird. But Revelations has a lot of great movement options. I will say the reason it's an almost perfect is because the game is too easy. This is one of the easiest games by a long shot. Grenades are inherently broken. You can get a lot of the super like high up stuff pretty easily in the game because of just your ability to make money. Overall, Revelations is inherently really easy. Some of the stealth sections are just as hard as these, which is okay, but there's no combat problem. Also, did you know breaking one of those powder grenades, which instantly kills somebody, will kill them faster than you could be found? Just letting you know. Assassin's Creed 3. I have changed my mind many times on this. I think Assassin's Creed 3 is bad. I think Brotherhood is worse. But 3 feels very insulting to my intelligence constantly. And also at the same time, if we're being honest, the story sucks. Assassin's Creed 3 probably has the worst story, which is funny because we'll get into 2 of these that have a way better story. The game mechanics that are changed are really dumb. And this is the thing, I played 3 twice. I played 3 when it first came out. I thought it was okay, which that's how opinions change. I thought it was better than Assassin's Creed 1. And then I played the kind of remaster or whatever. I don't know if it's just the remaster camera. I don't remember a lot of my original playthrough. The remaster camera sucks. It's the worst camera by a long shot. It's so bad. We're gonna go with Liberation because wait, this came out on PS Vita, right? So this is actually way later. I played it on the Vita. But it's this is a weird timeline thing. We're gonna put Liberation. I think this game is good. Liberation's better than Assassin's Creed 2. It has a lot of cool mechanics that haven't fully made a return. The disguise system kind of came back in Valhalla. Didn't really succeed that well. It's a little more like focused on the assassinations versus like what combat became in Assassin's Creed. So I happen to think it's really good. There's a couple of the story beats I don't really like. And Vita being a very limited console in comparison to, the home consoles means a lot of the side missions weren't there, which is good and bad. Good, you're not flooded with a bunch of different side quests that you don't care for. And bad, because you're not flooded with side quests that you do care for. It's always a split thing. I happen to think that it goes a little too far in lowering the amount. There's still some options, but Assassin's Creed is inherent with having some good side stuff and bad stuff. And I do think the good adds a little more than the bad lowers other Assassin's Creed. I think Rogue is the go. This is gonna come out for people that don't know. I think I think Rogue is honestly my go-to Assassin's Creed. I think this game is great. I love it. I technically should probably put this after 4, but I think it's short, which is, not really a great selling point to me personally, but I think that's what makes it really, really well done. There's a lot of side content. You could spend hours upon hours upon hours. Rogue has this nice, snappy story with this great, verbose, just get in there, showboating type, we have stuff to do, and then you're done. And you're like, what? Cool, what? And you're just kind of in this, oh, that's it. And it's very surprising, not as in, oh, that's disappointing. Oh, that's all it set out to do. It didn't do anything extra. There's no padding in this game. It treats you like a player, which is something very hard. Um, yeah, but we're gonna go four now. Four has lost a lot of luster in my eyes. This is gonna be a little bit of a kind of surprise. Hey, uh, four used to be an almost perfect, and I would say the trailing missions are inherently bad. Um, I'm actually gonna put an awesome game now that I think of it because I'll get to it right now. Um, Four's trailing missions are half the game, literally just under half the game, and they're really asinine, and that's what makes it like down here. What makes it an awesome game and really, really good is yes, there's the ship stuff which a lot of people liked. The story of Assassin's Creed 4, besides a few missteps, is really good. I happen to like everything that happens for the most part. There's a little bit of, kind of random shit that I don't like. But overall, Black Flag as a storytelling experience is probably the second best Assassin's Creed. Um, and I always say second best because technically you could argue for Origins, which I'll get into. But overall, standout title for sure. You can see that I think this game series is pretty good. Unity's just meh. As somebody who actually played through Unity more recently than a lot of people, I understand it is a fucking buggy ass game. This is one of the most buggy games I've ever played from like somebody with this many entries in a series. Unity is very buggy. The story is okay actually. It has similar missteps to Black Flag, but more often. Which kind of turns it on its head, but that's kind of all that Unity is like that story and being okay. It doesn't really do much. It's just meh. Syndicate, now it's just okay. This starts off strong. I think Syndicate starts off really strong and like makes me care. You play as two characters, which is interesting, but there's so much padding in this game. Uh, Usually I'm what is known as a side quest whore. I will do all the side quests because they're side quests and I feel like it. That's just the way it is, and it is okay to be that. Or maybe I'm making that up just to say I'm okay to be a side quest whore. But Syndicate, I found myself not really caring about a lot of the territory stuff and kind of just like doing the main quest because at the time I was, getting up to these, which I hadn't played at the time. Well, Origins and Odyssey were out, Valhalla was coming out. Syndicate has a lot of padding where you have to do it, and it feels very, very lackluster. I still stand by that it has a lot of good moments. I do think it has a lot of the bugginess of Unity, but it pulls it off better. I don't like the characters at all in Syndicate. I think it's probably the worst characters besides maybe 3, or Brotherhood as well. Like, they're really bad, but the story's okay itself. There's just a lot of padding. A lot of padding. Origins. This is almost a perfect game. And in fact, this is legit, like, so close to being perfect. Um, when I stand when I stand here and say this, I think the first hour of Assassin's Creed Origins is probably one of the best hours of gaming you can ever play. I think the storytelling beat is on point. I think teaching the players on point. I think the new stuff from Assassin's Creed Previous is on point. I think everything is on point for Origins. For that first hour, I think is the best game of like all time, of that era, of this era. I guess we're technically still in this era. It really does stand out. I think it's special. I think it makes you care, as long as you're not just like, oh, let me get to it. Blah, 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 blah. But if you are straight up like invested in the story, if you are paying attention, Origins is strong as fuck. I think it's just amazing. The rest of the game is okay. I do think a lot of the new system suffers from being new. I do stand by it that the ending of Origins really, really sucks. I think it's almost the worst ending. Yeah, I think the ending of Origins really sucks. I think most of the journey is fine. I think you can kind of figure out what's overpowered quickly, so you're not stuck in like, oh, I want to sit here and swing forever. Um, Very, very fun. I will say though, the new system, I'm not like 100% of a fan of in Origins. I think it becomes a too much of a numbers game really fast, which I that's why it's in Almost Perfect. Odyssey is an awesome game. A lot of this has to do with me not liking a lot of the characters in it. The story is fine, um, but I think this has one of the best gameplay loops in Assassin's Creed history. And I'm gonna be brutally honest. I think Odyssey has some of the best like progression as a character, like as a player, like as you learn, as you pick stuff up, as you use stuff, it really does feel like you are learning a lot. I'm not as big as a fan as a lot of people are with Odyssey. I do think it's just an awesome game, um, but I do think it's a standout title that you should try. uh, I do love the kind of Greek mythology type feel. I do like it, but I like Egypt more, or at least like, you know, I guess it's not really Egypt, but like that section of the world. Uh, I like it more for exploration personally, but I do love both in their own little ways. I do think Origins, and this is a little bit of a weird opinion, I think Origins did better with its theme and making me feel in the area sometimes. Odyssey has certain sections, which I get, like there's like mythological stuff going on that kind of like interferes with locales, but I feel like Odyssey has certain sections of the map that don't feel like they belong there, if that makes sense. And it's just a small nitpick, but we're talking about a small nitpick that just brings it down from Almost Perfect to awesome game. Um, I didn't mention earlier with Revelations of why I think this is really good. Ezio is way less annoying in this game. I'm just going to quickly say that before going back to Odyssey. I recommend you pick up Odyssey and play it if you have been out of Assassin's Creed. I know a lot of people stopped at Assassin's Creed 4. I recommend you go back and play Rogue. I do. I think Rogue is my personal favorite, and it's going to be my personal favorite. It's really fun. And then we have Valhalla, which is just meh. I didn't realize this was going to be the actual like tier list. The way it ended up pretty flat, but yeah, Valhalla is just meh. I do think Syndicate is better slightly, and this just has to be with Valhalla being very boring. Like there's a lot of padding in Syndicate, but Valhalla I just feel like kind of empty playing. It feels very exhausted, if that's the correct word, which is really weird because technically this is a new trilogy if we want to count it, or like the new section of Assassin's Creed. Origins is like the story one, Odyssey is the gameplay one, and then like this is supposed to be like the send off or the big explosion of Assassin's Creed like success, and Valhalla is just so weak, just so weak. Ugh. I'm really disappointed that Valhalla is like that. It is just meh though. It is like you can play and enjoy it, and I think if you like the certain aspects of it, it's a good game to you. I just think it's never gonna be more than like good. Like you get if I go back and play at some time, which I probably never will, honestly, because I was so bored playing it. But if you if I go back and play and I find I enjoy it, I could definitely see it going to good. Like this is the one with the most amount of change, more than likely. Maybe Liberation as well. I think Liberation on a good day can go to awesome game, and on a bad day can stay at the bottom of good. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with this list. Brotherhood is the worst game. Assassin's Creed 3 is almost the worst. And Rogue is the best, with Origins and Revelations fighting for second place. Odyssey for fourth, whichever, which if I'm to give you Assassin's Creed games, you don't care about the story at all. You go from awesome game and up. You don't want to kind of be stuck in the dreads of this, which are 8 games. Just stick with these 5. It'll be much better.